You good? I'll hand you gifts. We have them under here when we are ready to do. I have one here and one under here, okay? Unless you want to grab them yourself, otherwise I'll get them while you make comments. You want to grab them? You know? Do you know which? Okay, because I was going to say you probably don't know which one those are. No, okay, all right, we got it. Okay, got it. Okay. So we're 1 minute over. Okay. afterwards, we'll do the flag. They need to bring in special lighting for that, so we'll need to come back in to do that. So while people are starting out there, if we could grab you quickly to get your photo, and then we'll turn you this for the reception. Okay? All right. See if I can get Mayor Morrow in here. Mark's here. He's taking his picture. That's fine. Yep. Yes. Next to her. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Gardner's installation ceremony for our newly elected candidates. I'm Cheryl Harrison Lee, City Administrator of this community. Today, we are here to swear in Mayor-elect Steve Shute and council members Mark Baldwin and Randy Gogorczyk, and also to recognize the many years of service of Mayor Chris Morrow and council member Christy Harrison. The role of serving on the governing body is not to be taken lightly. It is because of their leadership we have become poised for growth and development. With the governing body's guidance, city staff is able to deliver exceptional services that are committed to the residents of Gardner and to the passion of public service. As we welcome new members to the governing body, we will continue to stay on this positive trajectory towards economic prosperity. We have blazed new trails, and we will continue to blaze new trails in the future. John F. Kennedy wrote, "The heights by great men, reached and kept, were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night." We're going to hear now from a man who led the city to great heights by blazing new trails for the last 4 years. A man of courage, a man of wisdom, a man of determination, the Honorable Chris Morrow, Mayor of the City of Gardner.
Holy smokes. You know, I've got a handy card here that says I get to speak for 5 minutes, but seeing as how my successor hasn't been sworn in yet, I guess I'll speak for as long as I would like. But I want to thank you all for coming and attending this evening. I know a lot of you probably aren't here to see me. You're here to see your friends and loved ones get sworn into office, but I do want to take this last opportunity to talk about a couple of things, say a couple thank yous. So first, again, thank you all for coming. But I also want to thank my family. I mean, honestly, I really kind of owe them apologies. For those of you that already serve on the governing body, you realize that sometimes you can suffer the slings and arrows that come with having a public profile. But they've all done it with grace, and they've all held their tongue, even when sometimes they didn't want to. You know, I tell people sometimes that I'm a self-important gas bag. And I'm not really, I'm just opinionated. And the rest of my family is opinionated as well. And the fact that they've been able to keep that under wraps low these last 6 years and 9 months is a testament to their fortitude. And I got one story that I want to tell about that. You know, I got elected to city council in 2011. There was a top local metro area elected official that was having some trouble with one of his offspring. They kept making it into the news on a pretty regular basis. And I guess whenever the offspring would get in trouble with the police, the first thing that he would say is, "Do you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?" And the big joke around the house was, "Don't ever say, 'Do you know who I am?'" And best that I know, they never did. And then I get elected 4 years and 9 months ago, and my brother Kelly, who some of you know, and that's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, calls me up after the election results go up, and he says, "I am now above the law." And I said, "No, you're not. Talk to you tomorrow." So, with that said, I do want to take a moment and just mention a couple of my favorite things. I like policy making and I like all the wonky stuff, but honestly, some of my favorite things are things like participating in Chat Fest on the trails with our distinguished citizens. I remember the first one that I went to, Vern Kanabe, who's about 84 or 85 years old, and he stands about this tall. He was fired up about something, came up, poked me in the chest. Gave me a little what for, and then poked me in the chest again. I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. I really did. But the people at the Chat Fest, Shirley Bruce runs it along with Joan Taylor and a whole host of other folks. And if you haven't made it, make it to the next one. Christy knows what I'm talking about. It's a warm and wonderful spot. I always enjoyed visiting with the students from the school district, whether it was the first graders that would come to City Hall and hug me even though I was trying not to be hugged, or the second graders at Sunflower Elementary that let me read them Dr. Seuss, or the third graders that were on career day. It was always a treat. I always liked interacting with the Gardner Gold Special Olympics team. Always a good time. In 2014, Cooper McGuire from Gardner Edgerton High School founded his own not-for-profit agency, Performing with a Purpose, and it's still going on today even though he's finishing up at K-State. But the first year, he gave the proceeds to the Mayor's Christmas Tree Fund, and now he funds a scholarship fund for the high school students. But he came in often, and we talked about how to get that set up. It was a great pleasure. I would have never thought that I liked Christmas in the Park lighting ceremony, but it's been a blast. And same thing for welcoming people to come to the county fair. And Gardner U graduating ceremonies or Citizens Police Academy graduating ceremonies, always good fun. And most recently, we started doing some things for our veterans, of which I'm one. And this year we gave out challenge coins, and the Gardner challenge coin is the one that I carry around with me now, still. And then later this week, I'm going to promote the Martin Luther King exhibit. It'll be up Thursday and Friday here at City Hall. If you didn't come last year, you should come this year. If you did come last year, you should come this year to see what new has happened. I want to thank the governing body members, both the present ones and the future ones, as well as the past ones. And when I got elected mayor, when I got elected to city council in 2011, I got elected with Larry Fodovich and Dennis Pugh. And out of the three of us, none of us finished a full term as a city council member. I finished the rest. I got elected mayor, so there was a good reason for me not to finish out my term. But it's nice to see what happened, and even though things can get a little, as my kids would say, spicy. I see you, Rich. The temperament of the body is improved, I hope, since that time. And I want to wish all of you that are newly elected or going forward with the new governing body, the best of luck. We've got a good thing going here. There's a lot happening, a lot to be proud of. I'd like it very much if you would all keep up the momentum. I want to thank city staff. The department directors are fantastic, but the long-serving members. David Frank has been over at Gardner Electric for, I don't know, 35 years. Kurt Hollingshead just retired as a sergeant after serving 26 years, and I like that guy. And I'm going to miss him, but I'm not going to miss him too much because I'm going to buy him lunch one of these days real soon. And, you know, while we do have lots of long-serving staff members, we've also got new members. Events like this don't happen without my friend Danica Marshall Okendo. I don't know where she is, but I know she's around here someplace. Renee from Parks and Rec, the new events coordinator, is fantastic. Larry Powell in Business and Economic Development has only been here about 2 or 3 years, but man, what an impact he's made. I want to thank our community members. And yes, I'm sorry that Lee's not here to grimace at this. I want to thank the Gardner News for reporting the news. Not every community still has a community newspaper, and I'm glad that we do. And I'm glad that, that they're here covering any manner of event happening in the city. I want to thank the Gardner Chamber of Commerce, the Southwest Johnson County EDC. I see Jason and Greg back there, Ed York, one of our board members with the EDC. You guys do great work, and it shows in what's happening in Gardner now, as well as our partners at KCADC. I want to thank constituents that personally contact me, whether it's, you know, grabbing me in person, calling me on the phone, sending me an email, sending me a handwritten letter, which last week resulted in me going out and visiting a constituent on Santa Fe and telling him good news about some of the repairs and improvements that are going to be made on that street coming next year. Well, this year. And, you know, for those of you that might be watching the live stream, I would say, you know, if you really want to engage with your elected officials, call them. Send them an email, ask to meet them. I haven't met one yet that won't take you up on that. And they'll appreciate it, and you'll be surprised at how accommodating they can be. I want to thank anybody that's ever volunteered for any of the city events. The big ones for me are the Earth and Arbor Day celebration in the spring, and we did do 2 years worth of Make a Difference Day in October. Distinguished citizens, I mentioned Chad Fest on the Trail. There's a lot of people. Is there anybody in the room that remembers Gardner before there was a McDonald's here? I got a couple. And I want to say thank you to you all. You know, this is a historical city, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm glad those of you that have been here for a while have helped fill me in on the history of the fine city. And then finally, for people in the community, I'm going to thank the Peanut Gallery. I used to be a member of the Peanut Gallery. From 2009 to 2011, I sat out there in the cheap seats and watched the governing body at work, and sometimes was critical, and sometimes I was inspired. But you know, Tory Roberts was a member, and Jerry Kellogg's a member. Kenneth, not as much way back when, but he's pretty regular now. And Jack Ronan, I don't know what happened to Jack, but we miss him. And you know, now Jerry's still coming, and so's Doug Martin. So I'm hoping that the Peanut Gallery lives for a while longer. I also want to have some special thanks to people who guided me during my city life. First is, and in no particular order necessarily, is Mike Press. He was interim city administrator while I was a city council member. He was here when we hired our city administrator. He was so knowledgeable. But more than that, he was gracious with his time if you wanted to learn about how to govern. And it made a big difference. If Finance Director Laura Gorley ever says to you, permission to speak freely, I don't care if you don't want to hear what she has to say necessarily, grant her permission to speak freely. She's going to tell you the truth. You know, we've had several executive assistants here. Katie Asbury was here. Leslie Quillen was here, and she was fantastic. Ann Forrester for a couple of years, and now Annie Clements, and they've helped keep me straight. Remember that, Steve. As do the city clerks. Hi, Doreen. Good to see you. Kim Leroy, Jeannie Kuntz, and now Amy Waller, who's got some duties here in a few moments. City Administrator Cheryl Harrison Lee. She is the picture of professionalism from where I sit. You know, we did a review recently, and I made mention of the fact that she's got integrity, sometimes even when it doesn't work out for her. She sticks to the International County City Managers Association 12 tenets of ethics, you know, like it was scripture. She leads the city professionally. She's been, you know, a friend and a trusted advisor, and we wouldn't be where we are today without her leadership. Or, as it turns out, Christina Harrison. So I'm going to ask her to come up here in a second, but I got to tell you, Christy has been a fantastic council member. She's the only person that I'm serving with right now that served longer uninterrupted than I did. She was there before I got started. She's still, we're leaving at the same time. Todd's got some time in, but for uninterrupted service, it's Christy Harrison. And when I was still sitting in the cheap seats with the peanut gallery, I called Christy one time to ask her a question about something, and she said, well, why don't I come meet you? And I said, well, I'm at the office today, when I still had the employment office a couple doors down. And she's like, well, I'll come by the office. And she came in the office, and then she stuck around even after my brother came back to work and started questioning her mercilessly. She's hardworking, she's dedicated, she's thoughtful, and she's as fine a public servant as I've served with. And with that, I'm going to invite her to come up. I believe I have something for her. This is what I'm talking about. You need people to help keep you straight. Christy. On behalf of the grateful city and community and city organization, and for me, thank you for what you've done for Gardner.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. You're welcome to say a few words.
First, I do want to thank the mayor. As he said, we have been a member of this governing body for about 6 years together. It has been an honor. We don't always agree, as most people, I think, that serve in these positions. You find differences, and as I've always said, I think that that's actually what makes a governing body stronger. I was actually appointed to the council in March of 2010 by Mayor Dravetta. And as most people who have been around here knows, that was a result of a recall, an unpopular kind of time to be in office, or at least to step in at that time. And then shortly thereafter, we did some reductions in city staff because of the economic downturn. We then voted to raise the taxes, which was also an unpopular decision. And so those first couple of years were challenging at best. And as those events were happening, one thing that was surprising to me was very little public input as those things were going on. You know, not a lot of people attending meetings, not a lot of feedback via emails or phone calls. It was pretty sporadic, and you tended to hear from, you know, a couple of the same people. So it was challenging to try and make those decisions that were in the best interest of the community without hearing from a lot of the community. So as time evolved, we saw, you know, things start picking up. We saw quite a bit of changes. We started hiring back some positions. We took on some new leadership, both with the city administrator, new chief of police, and some other key leadership positions, public works, parks and rec, economic development, almost a 100% changeover in the city's leadership team. And I have been so impressed with the caliber of employees that we have in these positions, in all positions of the city. I've never went to a department, whether it has been the sewer plant or the water plant or Gardner Energy, where I have not been met with the best class, most well-trained people. So we should be honored to live in a community like that, and I hope everybody realizes that. And as far as the governing body, as Chris mentioned, you know, there's been some interesting times, I will say, some, you know, bad news press, some arguing, some screaming, but all in all, I believe that we have made some significant advancements. I believe that the governing body is diverse. I believe it will continue to be diverse in thought, and that they will continue to come up with the best solutions to continue to move the city forward. So with that, I thank everybody. I welcome the new governing newly elected people. I look forward to what you all have to bring, and can continue to move the city forward. And again, I want to thank city staff, starting with Cheryl, Chief Pruding, who I see out there, Laura, Danica, Gons, where is everybody else? I know, I saw several. Larry, all of them. They have been truly the support behind all of us. I've learned a lot from them, probably more than I ever wanted to know about things like IRBs and all of that, but I truly appreciate their professionalism and their willingness to keep us apprised of situations and educated to make the best decisions. So thank you.
Well, next up, I'm introducing Mayor Steve Shute. I don't think it's too early. I'm going to invite him to join me at the podium. I want to thank him for the 4 years and 9 months that we've served together. I want to thank him for his input when I was on city council and he was not yet elected. I want to thank him for the time that he spent during the 2009 campaign when he ran for city council, and his responsiveness to me. You've got a job going forward, but I'm trusting that you're up to the challenge, and I want to welcome you to the podium to take the program forward from here.
don't go too far, Chris, because we got something for you too. And I believe Cheryl's got the goods. Oh wait, they're up here. All right, super. Great. So I'm going to present this to you on behalf of a grateful city and a governing body that, so you can celebrate your time with us. There you go. Thank you, Chris, and thank you again for your years of service to the community. This is not an easy job. Speaking from the council seat and then from council president, I know it's a thankless job to do what we do. And I have the greatest amount of respect for anyone who takes those seats. Same with you, Christina. Thank you again for all your years of service and for your contributions to the community. I hope that you'll continue to be involved and will continue to counsel us as we move the city forward. So thank you again. I'm not going to spend much time because I have remarks prepared for after the swearing in, but I'd like to move forward and get us back on the program, right? And introduce Randy Grzegorczyk, councilman-elect, now will be councilman. Come on up, Randy. And Mark Baldwin, councilman-elect, who will be sworn in a couple of minutes here. I am really excited about the direction that the city is going. We've done a lot of work. We've laid a lot of groundwork, dug a lot of foundations, and pounded a lot of pilings over the last 4 years to get the tools and the processes in place to move us forward so we can build the skyscrapers that'll take us to the next, I know Chris is cringing here, to take us to the next level of Gardner's development, and it was to a great extent working with the existing members of the governing body as well as you two to make that happen. Randy Grzegorczyk, I've known you. Oh, there you are. Randy, I've known you since 2011, I think. Plus or minus. Yeah, right around there. And you've run for council previously. You and I have had a lot of discussions as to how to get to the seat, and I am happy that you're there at the governing body with me. And Mark, your years on EUB have been stellar, and you're the best numbers guy I know. And you'll do some great work on the council as well. I'm going to have you give the first remarks, Mark, and then you can give it to Randy. Right? Okay.
You don't have to go. I ain't going to be very long. I mainly want to thank my family. Anybody who's ever ran knows what a commitment it is for the family. You know, those of us that are pounding the pavement or shaking hands, you know, that's just what we do. But basically, my wife was a single parent for 5 months. And with those two running around, that's quite the task. So I'd like to thank my wife. I'd like to thank all of my donors, everyone that supported me behind the scenes, walked with me. I'd like to point out that my #1 walker was my 6-year-old. He spent the most time with me pounding the pavement. If it was 115 degrees, he was out there and eager to do so. I always said that I wouldn't run as long as I had little children. And I've kind of been in the background. Like Steve said, I've been on the EUB for 7.5 years. So I've probably the longest tenured commission member right now. But I didn't plan on ever running while I had little kids. And then I felt like we're at a crossroads right now. I didn't want to make the mistake that we had with the intermodal. So I am eager to annex the land on the other side of I-35 and move us forward. So that's my goal. We'll see if the rest of the council's on board and go from there. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's great to see all of you guys out here. Some of the faces I recognize, whether it be friends of mine or door-to-door, or I made friends after going door-to-door. I'd like to also thank my wife and my 6-year-old. I think Mark said it well. Kara was a single mom for about 5 months, and I relished in it. because I was a single dad. I also want to thank God. Perseverance is a big thing to me. And I did run a couple of times, and I just persevered. So what I'd like to talk to you tonight about is pride. And pride for me stands for separate words. The first one is P for perseverance. I persevered to get up here. I had folks behind me, both financially and time, that helped me persevere. The second one is respect. As I knocked on doors, I respected what you had to say. And I took that in like a dry sponge, and I still have it. The next thing is integrity. Whether you're in my ear or patting me on the back, I have great integrity with respects to respecting you, the constituent. Determination. I'm standing here in front of you because I'm determined. I'm just a hard-headed Pollock from Texas, basically. And engagement. I plan on staying engaged, even duly elected. I've been going to Chamber of Commerce coffees for years. I've been in the peanut gallery for years. I've been on several different commissions and committees and advisory boards for years. Dropped donuts off to the police department for years. And I plan on doing that because that's what got me here, and that's me. So Randy's going to keep on being Randy at the end of the day. To sum it all up, I'm going to be a servant leader. And I want you to keep me honest and allow me to be that servant leader. And I expect feedback, both positive and negative. But I'm committed to working with Mayor Shute, Councilman Baldwin, Councilman Winters, Councilman Melton, and Councilman Moore. And I look forward to great things, and I look forward to getting through the tough times. But as long as we keep our constituents the center of our decisions, I think we'll be all right. So thanks for coming out today.
That's wonderful. Let's get you all sworn in so we can start the work. And we'll start with you, Councilman Grzegorczyk.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Randy Grzegorczyk,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties as a council member
and faithfully discharge the duties as a council member
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Mark Baldwin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the United States of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties as a council member
and faithfully discharge the duties as a council member
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's all right. We got plenty of room. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. All right, you're going to raise your right hand and repeat after me.
That's Chris,
I
my
state your
twin.
name.
I, Steve Shute,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties as mayor
and faithfully discharge the duties as mayor
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
for the city of Gardner, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Wow. It's harder than it looks. Honored guests, members of city staff, those who are watching online, I want to thank you for the trust that you have given to me that allows me to stand here at the podium and greet you as your new mayor. There's a few people I want to thank, if you don't mind indulging me for a moment. First of all, I want to thank my family. It's hard being the family of an elected official. It just is. And they didn't ask for it. They didn't want it. And I, to a certain extent, did it in spite of them. And I want to let them know, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, I hope I can prove you wrong when it comes to your thoughts on elected leaders and politicians. I truly believe that I have something to offer, and that's the reason why I'm here. And I hope that my boys can see me as an example to follow in a positive way through this. So thank you again so much for sticking with me on this. Gardner, Kansas was founded in 1857. That's 260 years ago this year. It was founded by pioneers, primarily from Massachusetts of all places, who were following the trails out west. They came from the East Coast, they came from the Midwest, they made their way to Independence, caught a trailhead to just over the Kansas Territory border, and set up a shop, set up a stagecoach stop and an armory mere steps from here, right over here. There's actually a plaque that's not too far from here that shows where they established their presence here. And then they picked up their torches and they picked up their pickaxes and they sauntered west into the unknown. They blazed new trails. They changed the face of the West. And I think back to that. And we've always talked about the city of Gardner as the place where the trails divided. And yes, it did. The trails did divide here, but that doesn't mean the city has to be divided. We're good people here. I love this community. I love raising my children here. They're all in the school district. They're all in the public schools. We shop here. We play here. I work here. I work from home. And I can't imagine at this time in my life being anyplace else. The people here are so outgoing. They're so generous. They will approach you on the street and shake your hand and give you a smile and say, "How are you doing today?" Try that someplace else, like, the East Coast, for example. It's home. It's home here. I think it's the best way to put it. And that's one of the things I ran on. I ran on community. I ran on unity. United We Rise was my saying when I was running for the office of mayor. And you cannot have community without unity. That's why it's at the end of that word. And being united doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, by the way. Being united just means you're willing to listen to each other. Being united is willing to come together and find the things you can agree on and moving forward. I am very, very humbled to be here and very excited to see what the next few years hold for this community. I promise to those who elected me that I will do everything I can to validate the trust that you have placed in me with your vote. For those who did not vote for me, I will do the absolute best to I don't say absolute best. I will do everything that I can in my power to convince you that I can be your mayor as well. Because I'm a mayor to an entire city, not to a faction. I'm mayor to an entire population of good people. And that means we have to embrace our differences and move forward on our strengths. And everything I do in the next 4 years, I pledge, will be moving in that direction. So with that, I will stop my remarks, because I'm sure some of you would love to have some cake. But thank you again. Thank you for all the support you've given me, and God bless Gardner, Kansas. Thank you very much. I think Cheryl's telling me we need to usher people out for some reception beverages, but thank you very much.